What's up everybody, and welcome back to yet another video on my channel. So today's video I'm going to be talking about something that may really interest you, especially if you are looking for a way to stay in Brazil long term, like indefinitely long term, many years, or even just live here for the rest of your life. And that is through permanent residency or Brazilian residency. So I was able to get mine just at the end of last year. So it's been a few months now since I've gotten my residency. I actually picked up the document just before Christmas time. It was like 3-4 days before Christmas time, which was a nice gift. I even joked with the person at the office, and she's like, "Yeah, it's a Christmas miracle." So I didn't think I would get it before the new year, to be honest. So I'm gonna go over basically what you need. It's going to be slightly different only for the fact that I was applying as a Canadian, obviously, and for Americans it's slightly different. Certain things you need, certain documents, meaning certain ways of providing the documents. So I may not be able to provide everything here because it was kind of like jogging my memory to try and remember every single detail, every single process that was done, but it was quite a headache. One thing I will highly recommend is just you gotta have a lot of patience, because here in Brazil there's so much bureaucracy, and I don't know if that's just because they're just so disorganized, or people just don't seem to be on the same page and don't communicate, and it's really frustrating, the bureaucracy especially coming from a country like Canada or US or the UK or whatever, England, where you're used to things just sort of having a nice flow. Of course, nothing is 100%, nothing is perfect, but damn, it was it was very frustrating, and I had to keep calm. I don't even know how many times I visited the federal police office. It had to have been 20-25 times, honest to God. Always trying to like clarify something or ask a new question, but damn. So let's get started here. In order to apply for Brazilian residency, there's a few ways you can actually do this. First one is investment. I'm not going to go into depth about that because I didn't do the full research. I know a little bit, but I won't get into it. If you have a child with a Brazilian here, there's one other way which I was reading about, reunion with a family member. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but that's a fourth way. The last way, which would be marriage, and that I believe it's called a stable union here, and that's the way that I did it, was through a stable union. It's kind of like common law, I believe, in like countries like Canada and whatnot. So yes, so there's 2 steps, and you can sort of be doing all these steps at the same time while you're getting ready to go and do the interview at the federal police when you bring all the documents and things like that. So the very first thing you want to do is just get this checklist. As you can see here, I'll just post it on the screen there. So there's a checklist you have to have, and it's essentially, I have it in my hand now. Essentially, you have to go through all these. So I have this checklist here, and I believe you can get this from the web. I'll post the website link down below where you can get these forms, everything that you need to know, where to go and whatnot. So it's in Portuguese, everything, and obviously you can see I've made a lot of notes and things like that, especially on the back, making notes. You want to be organized, but a lot of you will probably have difficulties, especially if Portuguese is not your first language. I mean, I had difficulties in Portuguese, even though it's not my first language, I have very good command of the language. But the problem is a lot of these things are very legal jargon, and it's a lot of things to have to intake and translate. So I would suggest translating it. If you come up to a point where it's become very difficult to go through the process, even with your significant other who's helping you and they speak English and whatnot, it will help a lot. But given the fact that this process is it's not so complicated, but it is heavy. I mean, it's a lot of different things that you have to get correct. And I would recommend, if I was to do this over again, I might hire a person like a consultant, or as they call them here in Brazil, despachante. I don't know any good ones. I don't know any sites you can go to, so that you might want to do that research on your own. So, without further ado, let's go through the list that I have here of most of the things that you'll need in order to start your process of getting your residency. And this is based on stable union marriage. So the very first thing you want to do is do that process of becoming married with this Brazilian, whether it's a woman or a man, depending on your case. This process you can do at the cartório, a place, if I translate, it's a registry. So it's like a registry office, and you go and bring all the documentation that you need for that process. I might do another video just strictly on doing stable union, but today's video I'll stick with the residency. So you go there and you get all that finalized. So you have those documents, okay? You've done the stable union, perfect. So the documents you will need in order to start the process of residency is first a criminal record check from your country. Now, if you're from the US, you can get this from the FBI. Obviously, me being as a Canadian, I had to either get this from the RCMP, but what was interesting is I got it from the local police force in the city that I came from. So I don't know whether this was an overlook on the federal police's side of things, or they just looked at it and, okay, sometimes that happens where they just see that it's all clear and they just go for it. They don't, it's very uncertain about how things run here. So if I were you, and if you're an American, I would just get it from the FBI. It's just going to be, just avoid any uncertainties. I just took a chance because I didn't want to go through too many more hoops from the RCMP. And actually for the RCMP, I would need to be present there. So I'd have to make a trip and go back. I don't know how it works for the FBI. I think they can do a simple search. So that you want to do research on your own. You'll need your birth certificate apostilled if you're from the US, and I believe from the UK as well, same thing. I had this issue with my birth certificate. So they don't do, Canada did not sign the declaration for apostilling documents. So I had to find another way in order to have my birth certificate authenticated. So luckily, I was very, very lucky. About 9 years ago, I was planning on possibly getting married to someone else when I was in my late 20s. So what I had done, interesting enough, I had my birth certificate. I'll just show you what it looks like. My birth certificate was authenticated at the consulate in my hometown of Toronto. So that, I was very lucky that I did that. So I know a lot of you probably wouldn't have thought of that ahead, and do something like that. But so I had that done. And also I had taken this already to get translated. So I had the translated document, but also done at the cartório. So it was also completed here as well. So I had my birth certificate pretty much, done and ready. Luckily that I thought ahead, So I never really, over the years I never really thought, okay, I'd be back in Brazil and I would get, a residency. Didn't even cross my mind. But luckily enough, I had that document completed. So that's probably one of the biggest headaches that you'll have to go through. Oh, and just so you know, you'll have to have all the documents, like I mentioned earlier, a little bit, not too long ago, is all the documents have to be translated to Portuguese. And you have to go to a, what do you call it? A sworn translator. And you can find a lot of those online. I'll actually put the link below if you want, just if you're doing your translation here in Rio. They were really good, wasn't too costly, and they were pretty efficient. So I'll put the link down for them too. Let's continue. You need your passport stamp with the date from your entry. You'll need the passport in general when you go to do the process, and make a copy of that. That's another thing. Make copies of every single document. Originals, make the copies. Just have copies on hand and be organized. You have to have a CPF. It's not that difficult to get. Make that your priority as soon as you come to Brazil. Get that out of the way unless you already have one. Brazilian criminal record check. Now, I don't know if as soon as you come into Brazil you need to have this. They told me that I had to have it for the fact that I was already here like 6 months, 5 to 6 months, before I started the process of the residency. So that in itself, I only found out like close towards the end of the process, and I was just so frustrated. They were like, "Oh, I didn't realize." And here's another tip for you guys: when you go to the federal police, try to get to know one of the guys, one of the agents that are there, and try to stick with that one person if possible. If they seem nice and willing to help you, try and stick with that person. Get their name, find out, through conversation, oh, how many days of the week are you here? I know it's not always possible, but we had some guy who was really, really good, and he kept helping us along the way and did not get, didn't seem bothered. Some of them don't seem really interested in helping. That's just, I don't know if that's personality or if that's just, who knows. It was really frustrating sometimes. So try to find one regular that you can always go to. It's not always possible, like I said, but it helps. So Brazilian criminal record check, you have to go, I don't remember exactly where that is, but it's like a ministry downtown Rio where I went to get it, and it was like a 2 or 3 step process. It was free, so that's one positive thing. I don't remember the exact location. I know that it was downtown Rio, and it took maybe like a few days to get it done, so you'll need that. Proof of residency under the applicant's name. So you'll need like a internet bill in your name, or you need a contract of your rental. So if you're like, I have a rental contract, I think I used that. I brought both just to be on the safe side. Didn't want to have any problems. You'll need the ID of your Brazilian spouse, so original and copies, they'll want to look at that. You'll need the receipt of the fees, so the GRU. This is standard with any document that you use to apply within the government of Brazil. So I think there's 2 or 3 documents that you'll need to print off and have copies of and pay the fees. Oh, that's another thing. The fees are as follows. So the processing tax was 168 reais. So it's like $35 US approximately. I'll put the price below. The tax of the registry card tax, in order for them to process, is 204 reais. So it's like 45 US, 40 US, somewhere around there. Not too bad. I mean, I would say price-wise, it was reasonable. And overall, I think I paid, with photocopies, with processing, with the photos, everything, in Canadian dollars, I think I paid like $600 to $800. I don't even remember. It was for everything. So you'd probably be spending like 500 US to get everything done, maybe a little bit more. It's really going to depend on how much some of the documents that you have to get from back home will cost. So just a few other things that you'll need that's on this list in order to get the residency through a stable union or marriage. 2 photos, 3x4 in color and with a white background. And if you wear glasses, take them off for the photo. So yes, a few other little things that you'll need as well is to prove that you have a shared bank account with this person. So with your the person that you're with, you have to have a joint bank account. Another thing would be a health plan here in Brazil. I have one through my spouse, so that helped out a lot as well. So these are sort of things that you'll have to get done when you're doing the stable union as well. So in order to do the residency, you'll need all of those things done that I mentioned for the first step, stable union, and then you bring that with the rest of the documents that you have. So another fact that you want to know is if you're here on a temporary visa, like a tourist visa, and you're kind of pressed for time, they are very generous with the extension of the limit. So you really don't have to do it before your tourist visa is up. Whether I think that's 6 months. You just have to ask them and confirm. Tell them, hey, we're in the process of doing residency and things like that. And they'll be like, no, what they told me was, no, there's no limit in order to stay in Brazil for you to get the process done. It's kind of like an open-ended thing. But don't delay, because if you end up delaying and they realize that you ended up not applying for the residency, you could get fined for overstaying the visa. So just be aware of that. Now, the whole process of getting this done, getting the documents and the translations and things like that, it took about maximum, I would say 6 months. I would expect it to be done within 6 months, and that's being conservative of an estimate. If you get everything correctly done, everything pans out and you don't have any errors in the documentation, I would say you can get it done between 4 and 5 months. I would say that's a good estimate of time to get it done. So let's get to some of the problems, and I don't think that I listed every single thing, but most of the main things you'll need. You'll have to do some research on your own. I think it really depends on office to office. So let's cover some of the issues that I had while going through this process, besides losing my patience that I had to keep. Uber ride costs, that could add up. I didn't want to take the metro over to the federal police because it's kind of a out of the way thing. You'd have to, Uber was just easier, and it was like, from where I live, it was probably like 15 reais, $4. So pitfalls and issues that I had. So I'm going to talk about one of the major problems that caused a lot of headaches, and that was to do with my passport. So in Canada, I don't know, I believe in US and UK it's not the same case, but in Canada you do not have to match up your your full name, the name that is on your birth certificate with your passport. For example, I have 4 names, and on my passport, when I did this back in, I think it was 2015 or somewhere around there, and my passport lasts 10 years, okay? So I have it till, I think, 2025. I put my first and last name only. Now, here in Brazil, which I believe is the same as the US and UK and many other countries around the world, your passport must have your complete and full name as it is written on your birth certificate. Canada, not the case. So as you can probably already figure out, this caused so many issues, because when I went to get the documents all settled and everything completed and whatnot, it had to be matching passport with birth certificate. And they just kept saying, oh, it seems like you're a different person. We know that you're not that. I mean, obviously we know that you're not trying to cause a fraud here or whatever, but unfortunately here in Brazil we need to have the full name as it is on your passport. Okay, so that was another issue I had to try and solve, and I did figure it out. I contacted the Canadian consulate, which is located here close to home, 10-15 minute walk. But I sent an email and tried to figure out how I can get it done. The people at the federal police told me that you can get like a declaration of, I forget what the terminology they use, but it's basically like to authenticate through the Canadian government saying, yes, this is the same person that is on the, like your birth certificate and passport, same person. And that also had to be translated and signed by the person working at the consulate. So a lot of different problems for me. I didn't think that it would cause a problem because I never really thought I would get the residency. So had I known this many years ago when I did my passport, okay, full names needed. I don't know why the Canadian government doesn't force people to put their full birth certificate name. I guess they're not, the passport isn't really in their intent or in their mind to be used, that you're going to use it for this case. So that's probably why they didn't think ahead. But I mean, to make things a lot easier and smoother, I think they should just make that law where you have to have your full name on your passport, that the same as your birth certificate. Okay, so got that done. Additionally, the lady at the consulate, who is a Brazilian but working, I guess, works at the consulate, said that there's like a 50-50 chance that the federal police may not accept this type of document saying, okay, this person is the same person on the passport. So another risk. I just said, I'm taking the chance, I'm gonna do it. Luckily enough, they accepted. So that was like a whew moment, So any of you Canadians watching and you're going to get your residency, please make sure that your passport has your full name, whether it's 2 names, 3 names, 4 names, whatever. Make sure that it's exactly as it is on your birth certificate, or you're gonna have massive headaches like me. So one other thing that I remember very, very profoundly was, so I had all the documents, everything, pretty much in order and whatnot. And just as I thought that things would be resolved and it'd all be done and over with, so arrived there, handed over the documents, I figured, okay. And then they basically say, wait outside. Okay, waited outside. Time flew by, and I don't mean in a good way. I mean that 1 hour became 2 hours, and then 2 hours became 3 hours, and then I think it was about a 3 hour and 40-minute wait, which in my mind I was like, okay, I think it's safe to say it's pretty much going to be done. Now, the only thing that needed to be done was the fingerprinting. So they would call you in for the fingerprinting. Never happened. One of the agents came out, and I was like, oh no. And that's when I discovered that I forget I think it was needed to do a police record check or something in Brazil, or was missing one other document. Something really ridiculous. I think it was that. So I was like, oh my God, I wasted 3 or 4 hours, nearly 4 hours waiting, and they took their sweet time figuring it out. And I actually think it was the documents not matching up. I believe that was the issue. It was either that or was the police record check that was needed in Brazil. So that's another really frustrating moment for me, definitely. But I do remember the day that I got it done. It was pretty quickly. It was within 40 minutes, and then they called me in to do the fingerprinting. So that may be an indicator for you guys. If you end up waiting a long time, might not be a good sign. So that's one other frustrating moment that I wanted to add in this video. So I hope I didn't miss anything in regards to documents and processes. I'm sure I missed a few things, but I mean, if you go through the steps and you do the research and you have help from your spouse or the person that you're planning on marrying here in order to get the residency, you should be fine. I would recommend, if you don't have a very good hold of the grasp of the language and things like that, and just because of so many different documents needed, consider hiring like a consultant or a despachant. It might help out a lot. So I'm really glad that you watched up until this point. If you enjoyed this video and got something out of it, hit the like button, consider subscribing. This last part of the video, I wanted to show you basically the day that I went to the federal police, and the joy in my eyes and the relief that you could see that once everything was rectified. So if you stay to the very end, you'll get to see that video. And before I get to that, I just wanted to give one massive tip for doing this whole process and going through the residency fiasco here in Brazil. Is be organized. I would say more than one tip, but be organized. So guys, during the process of getting your residency here in Brazil, I can't stress enough about being very organized, having all your documents and forms and everything put together, neat and tidy. I would definitely recommend getting a binder or a file folder or something like that to basically keep everything organized. Be calm, and it will get done. Just have positive belief. That's what basically got me through the process. I'll be honest. I mean, it was not easy, but got it done. And as you'll see right now, it was well worth it. So enjoy the last minute or two of the video, and it'll show you the journey getting to the police, the federal police, and then a few words at the end, just describing, more reinforcement of how you can get this process done. So thanks for watching, and keep watching. So guys, I'm here at the airport Saint-Dumont, where they have the federal police, and I have finalized the document of to stay for residency. So I have now got it after all of this hard work and stress and so many things you have no idea, but I've mentioned in the video that you probably have already watched. It's not an easy process. It is possible. Just follow my steps and you'll be as happy as I am today with your residency here in Brazil. So stay strong, and remember, don't get frustrated, otherwise it will cause more of an issue and more headaches going through this whole process. So that's the key to this, is be organized, stress-free, have faith, and don't get rattled very easily. Okay guys? Oh, and just one thing, so it's finalized, everything's done. I had to do all types of fingerprinting and whatnot. I have to return here in between 40 and 60 days to pick up the card, the residency card. So that's the last step of the whole process, is to come back, and I just have to keep checking online with a specific code or number that they gave me to see when it's ready. You don't even have to book or anything. You just come back once you see online that it's ready, and you simply come pick it up, show some ID, and you're golden. So that's the very last step, I promise. So thanks for watching, and so happy.